My name is Patricia Walters, and I'm 28 years old. For the longest time, I believed my life was steady and predictable in the best way. My YouTube channel was growing, my income was stable, and I lived with my boyfriend of 3 years, Liam Carter, who was 29 and working in marketing. We'd been together long enough that I thought we understood each other, our goals, our careers, our dreams. But sometimes stability only looks stable from a distance, and all it takes is one careless moment to show you how fragile everything really was. I'm a tech YouTuber, 5 years of videos editing until sunrise, studying analytics, negotiating with sponsors, and building a dedicated audience from scratch. It's work I'm proud of work. I've poured myself into, even on days I felt like quitting. My income fluctuated, but even my bad months were better than what most people expected. But Liam had a way of dismissing it always with these tiny comments, calling them your little videos, saying it must be nice to work in pajamas, or joking that I didn't really have a schedule because I just filmed things on the internet. I tried to shrug it off. He loved me, I told myself. He just didn't understand the industry. Whenever his parents or friends asked what I did, he never explained it honestly. He'd say, "She's in digital media," or "It's complicated," like telling them the truth would embarrass him. Meanwhile, I was making more in a single month than he did in half a year. Still, I kept hoping he'd eventually see the value of what I was building. Love requires patience, doesn't it? The moment everything changed happened on a perfectly normal evening. I had just landed a major 6-figure sponsorship deal with a tech company I'd admired since college. It was the kind of milestone I'd worked toward for years, the kind of validation that told me I was doing something right. I walked into the living room, eager to share it with him. Liam was on the couch scrolling through his phone. "I finally closed that sponsorship I told you about," I said, showing him the contract on my laptop. "It's bigger than I expected. This could open a lot of doors." He didn't even look up. He mumbled, like I was telling him about laundry detergent being on sale. I waited a moment, thinking he hadn't heard me. But then he sighed, put his phone down, and looked at me with this tired, almost irritated expression. "You need to get a real job, Patricia." I remember blinking, trying to understand the words. A real job? Yes. This YouTube thing isn't a career. It's embarrassing telling people my girlfriend makes internet videos. We're almost 30. You should be thinking about something stable, something with benefits, something I can actually mention to my family without sounding ridiculous. It was the way he said proud and embarrassing that hit the hardest, like all this time he'd never respected what I did. He wasn't just dismissing my career, he was dismissing me. "You're ashamed of what I do?" I asked. He shrugged as if it were obvious. "I'm being practical. My friends ask what you do, and I can't say YouTuber. It sounds childish. I always say digital media because it sounds less pathetic. Patricia, you've been doing this for 5 years. When are you going to grow up?" Something in me shifted. It felt like a cold clarity, settling over everything. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just picked up my phone, opened YouTube Studio, and showed him my monthly revenue. It was sitting at $68,000, and the month wasn't even over. That's this month," he stammered. "Yes, a slow month, actually." He kept staring at the number, doing the math out loud, as if the calculator in his head had just malfunctioned. "That's almost $900,000, Patricia." "Last year," I said, "before taxes." He sank back on the couch, absolutely stunned. And all I could think was how strange it was that he was shocked when he never once asked about my work, my numbers, or my milestones. He had spent years assuming I didn't make much purely because I worked from home and didn't dress up for an office. I stood up and said, "This apartment you live in, I pay the full rent. The car you drive, I bought it outright. The card you use for groceries and for your $300 brunches every weekend, that's my card, my money." He looked horrified. "If you had just told me, then what?" I asked. "You'd respect me." "That means you respect money, Liam. Not me. Not my work. Not my effort." Something inside me had already let go. I walked into the bedroom and began packing his things. He followed me, shifting between anger, confusion, and desperation. "Patricia, stop. We can talk about this. I didn't mean it like that." "How did you mean it?" He didn't have an answer. It took me about an hour to pack everything he owned into 3 suitcases. He kept arguing that I couldn't kick him out, that he had nowhere to go, that this was our apartment. "It's my lease," I said. "My home, my income, my responsibility, and I'm done sharing it with someone who's ashamed of me." He begged, pleaded, snapped, tried to guilt me, tried to accuse me of overreacting. None of it mattered anymore. I opened the door, handed him the last suitcase, and stepped aside. "Where am I supposed to go?" he asked, voice cracking. "That's for you to figure out," I said. "Not me." Just before midnight, he walked out of my apartment with 3 suitcases and a crushed ego, still trying to understand how the woman he'd underestimated for years had slipped right out of his control. I closed the door behind him, locked it, and stood in the quiet. For the first time in a long time, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt like relief. The morning after I kicked Liam out, I woke up to a phone buzzing nonstop on my nightstand. At first, I assumed it was spam or notifications from my latest video. But when I picked it up, I saw 7 unread messages from different numbers I didn't recognize, all of them variations of the same thing. "Liam didn't mean it. You're overreacting. Everyone says dumb stuff in fights. You should talk to him, he's devastated." They were all from his friends, people who had never once asked how I was doing throughout our entire relationship but suddenly felt qualified to lecture me now. I blocked each number without replying. Not even an hour later, I received a voicemail from his mother. I didn't want to listen, but curiosity won. "Patricia, this is Evelyn. I know you two had a disagreement, but you need to be more understanding. Liam is only trying to encourage you towards stability. YouTube isn't a long-term plan, and it's unfair to punish him for caring about your future. You owe him a conversation at the very least." I deleted the voicemail halfway through. "Punish him," she said, as if disrespecting my entire career and identity was a minor offense I should forgive with a smile. For the next 2 days, Liam stayed quiet. I thought maybe that was it, that he'd accepted the breakup, but then building security called me around noon on day 3. "Miss Walters, your ex-boyfriend is downstairs. He says he came to pick up belongings he left behind." "He took everything important with him," I said. "He's not coming up." There was a muffled exchange on the other end, and then I heard Liam's voice through the phone, raised and irritated. "I pay rent there. I have rights." I sighed. "No, you don't," I said loud enough for him to hear. "You never paid rent. Ever. I covered everything. I contributed to household expenses," he shot back. "You mean the credit card I gave you, that I paid off every month?" "You didn't contribute, Liam. You used what I gave you." Security asked politely, "Would you like us to escort him out?" Before I could answer, I heard another familiar voice, sharper, angrier. Liam had come with his older sister, Marissa. "You can't just throw someone out like they're trash," Marissa barked. "He lived there for 2 years. As my boyfriend, not my tenant," I replied. "His name isn't on the lease, and he's not my boyfriend anymore." Marissa stormed closer to the reception desk, shouting loud enough for people in the lobby to stare. "He says he left important documents. His birth certificate, his work stuff, his grandmother's necklace." "No, he didn't," I said firmly. "He took everything essential. And the rest, he can get replacements from the county or his employer." Liam tried switching tactics. "Patricia, please. Please don't do this. I just need a chance to talk to you." "No," I said. "We're done." Security was done too. "Sir, unless you can list a specific item she confirms is here, you need to leave the property." Marissa looked like she wanted to physically fight someone. Liam looked like he might cry. "You're going to regret this," she hissed at me. "I doubt it." They left together, Liam trailing behind his sister like a scolded child. I watched from the mezzanine window as they walked out into the parking lot, Marissa gesturing wildly, Liam looking shattered. Instead of sadness, I felt drained, tired, but also strangely validated. Every part of me whispered that I'd made the right decision. I ordered takeout that night, Chinese, and ate it on the couch while answering comments on my latest video. It was the calmest I'd felt in weeks. The next morning, things escalated in a way I did not expect. I received a direct message from a man I didn't know. Professional headshot, suit, tie. His username read something so predictable, it almost made me laugh. Carter Legal Consults. No doubt something Liam thought sounded intimidating. His message, I understand, there has been a separation. In cases where one party has been financially dependent, there may be grounds for transitional support. Open to discussion. I stared at the screen, not sure whether to laugh or rage. Transitional support. He wanted palimony for what? Playing video games while I paid his bills. I forwarded the screenshot to my attorney friend Daniel with the caption, "Is this real?" He called me immediately, laughing so hard he could barely breathe. "Please let me respond," he said. "Please, I haven't had fun in a week." I told him to go ahead. He sent an official reply from his law firm's email, cold, precise, and devastating. "My client owes your client nothing. Any further contact will be considered harassment. Do not message again." Silence followed. The lawyer vanished instantly. But Liam's side wasn't done. That afternoon, one of Liam's friends, someone I'd always found obnoxious, requested to follow me on every platform I had: Instagram, TikTok, even LinkedIn. I declined all of them. An hour later, she began watching my Instagram stories through a mutual friend's account. So I posted something I knew would make its way back. A screenshot of my latest sponsor payment, $81,000 for one integrated video. Caption, embarrassing hobby. Embarrassing amounts. Barely 10 minutes later, I received a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk." I replied, "About what?" "What we had was real." "No," I wrote. "What we had was you living off me while calling my career embarrassing." "You're twisting things," he said. "I was just worried about our future." "Funny," I typed back, "because you spend like someone with a six-figure salary and you make 45. You weren't worried about our future. You were worried about funding your lifestyle without me." He didn't respond. Instead, he began calling first from one number, then another. I blocked each one. By the end of the day, I felt exhausted, as if I'd lived through a storm, and it wasn't even halfway done. But I also felt stronger than I expected. The more Liam and his circle lashed out, the more clearly I saw the truth. He didn't love me for who I was. He loved the comfort I provided, the stability I built, the lifestyle I paid for. The respect he never gave me was finally showing its absence in full daylight. The chaos didn't settle after Liam's attempts to reach me. If anything, it shifted into something stranger, an almost desperate need to rewrite history. It started quietly, then snowballed into a full-blown campaign to paint himself as the victim of a cruel, unreasonable girlfriend who abandoned him after everything he did for her. The first sign came 3 days after I blocked his latest number. I opened Instagram and found a message request from an account with no profile picture, no posts, and a username that looked like someone hit random letters on a keyboard. "Patricia, I think we need to discuss the financial situation." It was obviously him. "I invested 2 years of my life in this relationship. I supported you emotionally while you built your channel. I think I'm entitled to compensation for that contribution." I read it twice, wondering if he genuinely believed this narrative or if desperation had warped his memory. Compensation for what? Criticizing my job every chance he got. I sent the message straight to Daniel, my attorney friend. He replied instantly, "You have got to be kidding me." I typed back, "She thinks dating me is billable labor now." He called me within seconds, laughing. "Oh, I'm going to handle this one too. Give me 5 minutes." 5 minutes later, he forwarded me the email he sent from his firm's official address, this time using phrases like extortion, false claims, and potential legal action. It was thorough enough to make even the most delusional person rethink their approach. The burner account went silent, but his sister Marissa wasn't done. That evening, a mutual acquaintance messaged me. "Did you see what Marissa posted?" I checked Facebook, something I rarely do, and sure enough, there it was. A long, self-righteous paragraph about watching my brother suffer because someone couldn't handle constructive criticism and how real relationships require honesty, even when the truth is uncomfortable. She never mentioned my name, but come on, half the people in her comments already connected the dots. One of my old college friends who never liked Liam jumped in and commented publicly, "If by constructive criticism you mean insulting her job while living rent-free for 2 years, then yeah, totally." Marissa deleted the post within an hour, but the damage was done not to me, but to Liam. He'd lost control of the narrative, so he invented a new one. According to him, he had been my unofficial manager, producer, editor, and collaborator. Apparently, he had helped build my channel, and without him, I wouldn't be where I am. This rumor spread faster than I expected. A mutual friend texted me, "Patricia, is Liam serious? He's telling people he basically helped run your brand." I nearly choked on my coffee. Which part? I replied. The 3 videos he reluctantly appeared in, or the hours he spent complaining that my filming schedule interrupted his gaming. "Yeah, I figured," my friend said. "Just wanted to confirm." I pulled up 5 years of receipts, emails, contracts, editor, invoices, messages with my actual team. Liam's name did not appear anywhere in the creation or management of my career. Daniel told me to save everything. If he goes further, we'll bury this fast. But Liam didn't stop at lying about work. He escalated emotionally, too. His father reached out through Facebook Messenger, not even trying to hide the condescending tone. "Patricia, we need to speak woman to man about what you've done to Liam. My son supported you while you built your business. Now that you're successful, you decide to abandon him. That's not how adults behave. This is pride, not reason." I didn't respond. I didn't even open the conversation after reading the preview. It was almost surreal. They were rewriting the entire relationship in their heads to make Liam the hero and me the villain. At this point, I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just observing the unraveling with a kind of detached disbelief. But the strangest moment came a week later. I was working in my usual coffee shop laptop, open headphones, on editing a video when someone slid into the seat across from me. I looked up and there he was. Liam. He didn't say hello. Instead, he immediately began a loud, performative phone call, clearly meant for me to overhear. Yeah, I'm really focusing on what matters now, he said dramatically. Material things don't define a relationship. I've learned so much about humility. I stared at him for a full 10 seconds, then slowly began packing up my laptop. As I stood, I leaned toward his table. If material things don't matter, I said calmly, why did you tell me to get a real job for the money and benefits? He froze. Pick a narrative, I added, then walked past him and out of the cafe. The barista caught my eye and gave me a subtle thumbs up. That night when I returned home, I found something taped to my door, a card. Inside was a long, emotional letter in Liam's handwriting pages of apologies, excuses, and explanations about intention versus impact. I tossed it in the trash unread. Enough was enough. But the universe apparently wanted one more twist. The next morning, my mother called. Her voice was light, amused even. So she said, "You'll never guess who just called me." I didn't need to. Liam's mom. "Oh, yes," my mom replied, practically cackling. She lectured me for 30 minutes about how you're throwing away true love over one tiny mistake. Then she said you're being immature. I groaned. What did you say? I told her my daughter earns more in a month than her entire family does in a year, and maybe they should teach their son not to insult the person paying his bills. I rubbed my forehead. Mom. What, it's true. She wasn't wrong. By the time we hung up, something inside me felt done. Not wounded, not angry, just completely finished with the entire mess. Liam wasn't trying to fix things. He was trying to rewrite things, to convince himself that he hadn't been wrong, just misunderstood, that I'd overreacted, that his disrespect wasn't the core issue. But I knew the truth now more clearly than ever. The relationship had ended long before the breakup. It ended the moment he decided my work was beneath him. Everything since was just fallout. If everything that happened before had felt chaotic, what came next was the final, unmistakable sign that the relationship was not just over, it had rotted long before I kicked Liam out. All the things he said, all the lies he told, all the theatrics he performed, none of it compared to the last attempt he made to wedge himself back into my life. It started the following week when building security called me again. Their tone was different this time, less annoyed, more cautious. "Miss Walters, your ex-boyfriend is downstairs again. He says he needs to return something important and insists it must be handed to you in person." I didn't need to guess what important meant. Liam never came back without an agenda. "What is it?" I asked. "He says it's the engagement ring." I actually laughed loud and voluntary. "He can mail it," I said. "I don't want to see him. Miss Walters, he claims it's too valuable to mail. He says returning it is a matter of principle." Principle, from a man who tried to invoice me for emotional support. "Fine," I said. "I'll come down for 5 minutes. No more." When the elevator doors opened, I immediately spotted him near the front desk. He was dressed unusually well, button-down shirt, dress shoes, hair, styled like he might have watched 3 grooming tutorials before leaving the house. He was holding the ring box in both hands, as if it were a peace offering or a prop in some emotional performance. "Patricia," he said softly, as if we were in the middle of a romantic movie instead of a building lobby where he'd already caused 2 scenes. "What do you need?" I asked. His eyes darted to the security guard hovering nearby. He forced a small smile. "Can we talk?" "Privately." "No," I said. "You have 5 minutes. Say what you need to say." He nodded and opened the ring box. The same engagement ring he'd chosen 2 months before everything fell apart. A ring I'd worn briefly before learning who he really was. "I wanted to return this properly," he said, face to face, not by mail. He swallowed hard. "Look, I know things got messy. I know I said things I shouldn't have, but I've had time to think, and I understand how it sounded. I made a mistake." "A mistake," I repeated. "Liam, you didn't just slip up once. You disrespected my work for years." His eyebrows pulled together. "That's not fair." "That's reality," I said. "You mocked what I do. You lied to your friends about my career because it embarrassed you. You called my business childish. You told me to grow up. You didn't think I had a real job until you saw a number on a screen. You didn't just disrespect my work, you disrespected me." He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. For the first time since the breakup, he looked genuinely speechless. "I care about you," he said finally. "I always did. I didn't understand." "And that," I replied, "was your job, to try to understand." to ask, to listen, to care without needing proof of income first. He shifted uncomfortably. You don't have to say it like that. How else should I say it, I asked. You want to make it sound like this was one argument, but it wasn't. It was a pattern. Years of you placing yourself above me just because your job sounded more respectable. Years of you deciding my work didn't count unless it looked traditional. He closed the ring box. I'm trying to fix it. You're trying, I said, because now you know the truth, not because you suddenly understand my work. And that's the problem. He blinked several times as if hoping I'd back down. So, that's it, he asked quietly. We're just done. We were done the moment you called my career embarrassing, I said. You only realized it later. He exhaled shakily. I sacrificed so much for us. I almost laughed. What exactly did you sacrifice, Liam? I paid rent. I paid utilities. I paid for your car. I paid for groceries. I paid for outings. I paid for vacations. The only thing you sacrificed was the comfort of pretending to be the more accomplished partner. His face twisted first in shock, then in something like shame. I don't want the ring, I said. Keep it. Sell it. Throw it in a lake. It doesn't mean anything anymore. I turned to leave. He raised his voice behind me. So that's it. After everything I gave up everything for you. I stopped, looked over my shoulder, and said, You gave up nothing. I just finally stopped giving to someone who never appreciated any of it. Security stepped forward, sensing the tension. Liam dropped his gaze, defeated. I walked back to the elevator and didn't look back again. That night, I made the final decision that sealed the end of any remaining connection between us. I changed my phone number, locked down my email filters, cleaned out every shared document or lingering reminder of him. My accounts, my apartment, my life. Everything became completely unreachable to him. The next day, my dad called to tell me Liam's parents had tried reaching out again. My dad had shut it down instantly. They keep saying he's heartbroken, my dad said. I told them heartbreak doesn't excuse entitlement. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. Over the next week, little pieces of information floated back to me. Liam moving back in with his parents, complaining about rent prices, struggling with the payments on the car I'd bought him, hinting to friends that he might need a second job. Apparently $45,000 a year didn't stretch as far as he believed when he wasn't living on my income. The people who tried to shame me before were now distancing themselves from his drama. The narrative he'd been pushing was falling apart. The more he tried to hold on, the clearer it all became. He hadn't loved me. He loved the life he had with me. And when the life disappeared, his affection crumbled with it. By the end of that week, I slept better than I had in months. The storm was almost over. 6 weeks passed before the situation took its final turn. Not quietly, not gently. Liam never did anything gently, but with one last scene that sealed everything in place and closed the door behind me forever. By then, life had become shockingly peaceful. My channel hit 1 million subscribers. I landed my biggest sponsorship to date, $250,000 for a 3-video series. I'd moved into a high-rise apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows, an actual dedicated office, and enough space to breathe. My friendship circle shrank, but the people who remained were steady, supportive, and never once questioned the legitimacy of what I do. I had stopped thinking about Liam. Not out of bitterness, because there was nothing left to feel, just clean, blank indifference. Then one Friday night, I went to dinner with friends at a nice restaurant downtown. We were mid-conversation laughing about something stupid when the air shifted, one of those subtle changes you feel before you even look up. And there he was. Liam had walked in with a date. I later learned her name was Sienna Brooks, his ex-girlfriend from years ago. An irony that would have stung once, but now just seemed like confirmation he was circling old patterns. He saw me before I saw him. His face went through 3 distinct stages in 3 seconds: shock, embarrassment, then a desperate attempt to look unbothered. I turned back to my table, uninterested in participating in whatever emotional theater he was preparing. But of course he came anyway. He approached our table, slowly leaving his date standing alone by the entrance, confused and awkwardly holding her purse. "Patricia, can we talk?" he asked. I set down my fork. I'm in the middle of dinner. Not really the time. "Just 1 minute, please." My friends exchanged looks, half sympathetic, half irritated for me. I sighed, nodded once, and stood. 1 minute, I said, stepping a few feet away. His date remained behind him, like a shadow he forgot existed. Liam swallowed hard. I wanted to apologize. Really apologize. Not the way I tried before. I know I was disrespectful. I know I hurt you. I know I acted entitled and judgmental. I didn't get it then, but I do now. I waited. When he didn't continue, I asked, "What exactly do you want from me, Liam?" He shook his head. "Nothing. I'm not asking to get back together. I know that's done. I just needed to say it to your face. That I was wrong. That I'm sorry. That I—" He paused. "I didn't realize how much I took you for granted until I didn't have you anymore." There was sincerity in his voice this time, not manipulation, not performance, just regret. And strangely, it didn't move me. Not even a little. "Okay," I said. "You apologized. I heard you. But it doesn't change anything." "I know." He looked down. "I get why you ended things. I really do." "Good," I said. "Growth is good." He nodded slowly, then added, "For what it's worth, I tell people now that my ex is a successful content creator, that you're killing it, that I'm proud of what you built, even if I wasn't when we were together." I met his eyes. "Respect people while you're with them, not after they leave." He flinched, not dramatically, but enough. "That's fair," he murmured. We stood there for a moment. Then I gave him a small, polite nod and walked back to my table. Liam returned to his date, who looked like she had been holding her breath the entire time. "What was that about?" one of my friends asked when I sat down. "Closure," I said simply. Later that night after I got home, I got a message from a mutual friend, one of the few I still trusted. "Hey," she wrote, "I know this is random, but Liam really has been in therapy. He's actually trying to work on himself. He knows he messed up and he's not denying it anymore." I typed back, "Good for him." She replied, "He's different now." I thought for a moment, then wrote, "Maybe. But I don't need to stick around to see it." And that was the truth. My life wasn't defined by whether or not Liam changed. His growth, if real, was for the next woman, not for me. In the months that followed, everything stabilized. My audience grew. My sponsorships skyrocketed. My home became a place of calm instead of tension. I dated casually, but didn't force anything. For the first time in years, I felt like I was choosing my life instead of managing someone else's. I also recognized something important. Liam never respected me. He respected my money once he discovered it, but never me. Never the long nights, the small victories, the leaps of faith, the parts of my life that were invisible unless you cared enough to look closely. The right partner doesn't need proof before offering respect. They don't need numbers before believing your work matters. They don't need success to acknowledge your effort. Liam wanted the lifestyle without appreciating the work. He wanted the results without respecting the process. That's not partnership. That's dependency dressed as love. Now, when I look around my new apartment, when I film in a space built entirely from my own hard work, when I wake up without someone criticizing the thing that feeds my soul, I realize something simple and honestly beautiful. He didn't break me. He freed me. My so-called embarrassing hobby bought me the life I dreamed